Waiting to go live here. Do you see me live? Are we live?
I think so.
I think we're live here, but I'm not sure we're live on IG yet. Do we see? Oh, there we go. I see on yours.
I think so. Yeah.
I think we are. I think we're live on yours.
Yeah.
I think you're right. You see yours? You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started then. Welcome, everyone. Today is an incredible session. We're going to do a very special session here on IG Live. I have Advait with me. We're going to talk about Qatar business class. But before we get into that, let's do a quick introduction. Advait, where are you based out of? And how long have you been looking at, how long you've been in the hobby of points miles now?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Ben. I'm really excited to chat today. So I'm based out of Toronto, just north of the border. So for those, I guess, that don't know me, I'm currently creating content under the handle of Miles Beyond Borders. And what sort of led me into points and miles can give you like the shortest story, I guess. I love traveling, but I hate paying full price for it. So maybe probably around the turn of COVID is when I guess I had always been using credit cards, like rewards credit cards, but the points, I didn't really pay attention to them. I was just pretty much doing what majority of the audience does, is like just redeeming the points from the bank portal into flight, and I thought it was a great deal. But then started jumping deeper into things like the points guy and a lot of the Instagram content creators as well, where people were flying business class and staying in fancy hotels, and I'm like, man, they need like tons of points to do that. And turns out you don't, right? You just, if you know how to redeem correctly or take advantage of status and things like that, you can actually get these experiences for way fewer points. So that's kind of what led me down the rabbit hole.
What was your first redemption?
Yeah, so I guess the first redemption that I made was to fly Etihad Airways in the first really good redemption was to fly Etihad Airways in business class from Abu Dhabi to Egypt. It was a short flight. It was like 4.5 hours or something, but just sitting in business class and enjoying that fancy flight.
Do you remember what kind of miles you used for that?
I used Aeroplan points at that point, so I transferred my American Express points over to Aeroplan, and then at that time Etihad used to have a fixed award chart or rather Aeroplan used to have a fixed award chart for Etihad, so it was like just 25,000 points or something.
25,000 points for business class 4-hour flight. That's awesome. And did you fly by yourself, or did you fly with someone else as well?
That was me and my wife. We went for like a week-long trip to Egypt.
What now? Was she hesitant to get in, or did that kind of open her eyes?
I think she's overall been super supportive of this, but when we finally actually got to sit in the front of the cabin, it's like, whoa, okay, now it makes sense, right? Opening all those credit cards and figuring out all the points and miles stuff.
How long did it take you to get from the point of discovery of points and miles to actually make your first redemption? How long did that process take?
So I would say for me it was pretty long, because I honestly started using points rewards cards like the Chase Sapphire cards in 2018 or 2019. But then, like I said, for the first 2 years or so, I was just redeeming points as is. The point where I actually started learning about transfer partners and so on was probably like 3 years after I started just using rewards cards, so probably around 2021. So that's when I started learning about it, and then I think 2021 was mostly just me learning about reward points, miles, how to transfer them, and how to get these great redemptions.
I'm going to tell you something, Advait. I admire in a short time how you've grown your account.
Yeah.
As a content creator, I'm just curious, what were some of the challenges that you had to come internally in yourself for you to account? Because is that what you do full time? I mean, is that something you had experience in?
No, I have never created content before Miles Beyond Borders. I did in a previous life try to start a blog, but that did not work out. That was not a points and miles or travel blog. That was just like a personal finance, kind of like a hobby blog that didn't really take off. But yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of hurdles that you have to overcome, I think if someone wants to start content creating, the biggest thing that people need to overcome is just forget about the results. Just try to do the same thing again and again. You have to be consistent. I think people expect to post like 3 to 5 videos and expect to get thousands of followers. And when they don't do that, they're like, oh, this does not work. But I think only after the first 100 videos, you'll ever learn that what's kind of working and what's not. So yeah, you just keep posting.
There's no way to learn other than doing. I stopped looking at people's followers. I look at how many posts they did. That's the first one I look at. I'm like, okay, you did 30, go do another 100.
Right.
Go do another 200. Yeah.
Right.
You'll get
so I mean, you can't say, right? Some people have like under 50 posts, but they have like over 100K followers, and it's just that one post that has taken off, and that's great.
Yeah, but there's still a lot to learn. Even if you take off, you still got to learn how to make it successful. That's great.
Right.
I'd like to kind of talk a little bit now. Let's kind of talk a little bit more about this role of Qatar. Many people wouldn't be able to name it on the map where it's at. Now, a couple of years ago, they had the World Cup there, so I think it put it on the map for a lot of people. Can you give us a little background? How often have you been there to Doha, and is it a good place even as a destination? Maybe before we even start talking about Q Suites.
So yeah, I mean, fun fact, I grew up in the Middle East, so I grew up in Dubai. But I have never been to Doha, as in outside the airport. Just never been. So I've been to the airport several times whenever I've flown Qatar, whatever Q Suites or economy class or whatever. Overall, I think the Middle East region, which specifically talking about UAE and Qatar, are great destinations to visit. There is lots to see there in terms of just things that, the great infrastructure that these countries have created, as well as the culture that Middle East has to offer. So as someone who's grown up in Dubai, the Middle East area is definitely very close to my heart. So I typically try to visit at least once a year or once in 2 years.
Now, when you've flown Q Suites, you've gone into at least the lounge then, right? At Doha. Can you tell us a little bit about the lounges before we get into the actual flight? What is the ground experience like on the ground?
Yeah, so the great thing is Q Suites, right? It's internationally known as a business class product, so which means you'll get access to the Al Marjan business class lounge in Qatar, which is awesome. But the better part is if you buy Q Suites, or if you fly Q Suites from Doha to somewhere close by like Dubai, even though that is Q Suite, it's ticketed as first class, so you get access to the very world famous Al Safwa first class lounge, and that's just a fantastic experience just to go in the lounge. I think many people or a lot of the clients that I work with, they try to get a longer layover, which a lot of people think is counterintuitive, but you want a layover of maybe 3 to 5 hours to really enjoy that first class lounge, because it's really good experience. Like it's fine dining, made to order dishes. There's a spa, there's showers, there's hotel like rooms where you can rest, and really a great experience that you otherwise wouldn't have had. But Points and Miles made it possible.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, you just dropped a great gem right now. And folks, if you don't know, Ave actually is running he has a Q Suite Qatar master class that you folks can purchase. Let me just put it up here. If you guys are interested, go, and you want to learn about Qatar Q Suites, go to Miles Beyond Borders on Instagram. He has a link in bio. You can go in and get it right now. If you're looking to learn all that you need to know about Qatar Q Suites. So he just gave us a gem right now that you'll probably expound on the video as well, but you can be able to get booked first class between Qatar and Dubai if you want to experience it, so you can get into the lounge. So you're actually getting the first class so that you can get in the lounge. It's not actually the air experience, it's the ground experience, right?
Yep. The in-flight experience is exactly the same. The seat is the same. It's a Q Suite, but it's just ticketed as a first class, so you can go to the first class lounge.
So are you booking it just that ticket alone, or are we talking about a longer flight and just connect all the way to Dubai?
Yeah, so it's one single ticket, but from North America, between North America and Doha, it'll be in the business class, which is Q Suite. But between Doha to, let's say, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Sharjah, which is another city in the UAE, it'll still be Q Suite, but it'll be ticketed as a first class ticket. So you get to fly, you get to go in first class.
Let's talk. What are some of the mileage programs that people can use to fly? I mean, do we have to have Qatar? Let's say I have somebody who's like, Ben, I've never earned a Qatar mile in my life. Am I going to need that to be able to fly Qatar?
Well, I mean, in the broader sense, you want to earn Avios, which is Qatar's mileage program that they follow. But there are other ways to book it. Like if you earn JetBlue points, like if you like JetBlue a lot and you have a ton of JetBlue points, you can use JetBlue. You can use American, which used to be a great way, but recently has received pretty little availability with Qatar. And similarly, there might be other partners that Qatar has. But in my opinion, the best way to book it is using Qatar's own miles. And I think the good thing is that they are the easiest to earn compared to any other credit card currency, or rather airline miles, because they're transferable from pretty much all of the major credit card currencies in the US and Canada as well. So they're really easy to earn. Like 100,000 Qatar points might be easier to earn than, let's say, 60,000 American airline miles. Yeah. So that makes it easier to collect and book flights directly with Qatar.
So folks, if you have British Airways miles, that's a partner of Qatar. You can actually move over your British Airways to Qatar. You can move over Finnair, Avio, Aer Lingus, Iberia. There's like 5 different airlines that share Avios that you can move to Qatar. That's what he's talking about right now. So I think those are things that folks should consider if you're looking to fly one of the best. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think we hear it all the time about Emirates? All the time. Everyone talks about Emirates. How does Qatar's Q Suites rank against an Emirates business class? Not first, but business. How does it rank? What is your opinion about that?
I think Qatar's business Q Suite business class is way ahead of where Emirates is currently. And primarily, I think it's because Emirates is really trying to push their first class product. So even their business class, when a lot of other major airlines are coming in with the suite style product with the closing privacy doors, Emirates doesn't have that. Even on their newer business class, which they just released last year, doesn't have that sort of privacy, which I think is sort of a step behind what everybody else in the industry is doing. And yeah, to my point, I think Emirates is doing that because they really want to push the distinction between their business and first class products, while Qatar is pushing the Q Suites. And in fact, their tagline is, I think it's called first in business. And it is truly like first in business, where you get first class like service, but you're still flying and paying the price for a business class ticket.
I remember when His Excellency used to say, we don't have first class. Our business is better than is equal to other airlines' first class international product. And let's clarify this for a second before we get any further. What is the difference between, for those who haven't done a lot of international business class and first class, what's the difference between business class and first class? Do you still get a lie flat seat in business class like you do in first class? Is that still the same?
Yeah, I think when it comes to international flights, yeah, you still get a lie flat seat in business class. First class just takes things to the whole other level with the service as well as the seat itself. So you might have a much larger seat. Service will also be much more significantly, attention to detail, premium sort of beverages and food like caviar, stuff like that will be first class. But like I said, Qatar tries to do this in business class, so they have caviar in business class, which is phenomenal, right?
Well, let's talk about that. So one of the things I noticed typically you find in first class versus business class is that they give you pajamas in first class.
Oh, yeah.
They have champagne that the really expensive champagne like Krug or Brut or Dom Perignon, or then you see caviar, as you mentioned, caviar service. What do you see some of those things? Like, are any of those things something that carries over in the Qatar's business class you find in first class?
Yeah, like they give you pajamas on their long haul flights. There's free flowing champagne. they have now, like I said, announced caviar on select routes. Haven't yet tried it, but hope to someday. But yeah, all that fun stuff is there, and you're still flying business class.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard that if it's your birthday and you told them in advance, they give you a cake.
I don't know. That's news to me. So
Yeah.
that's a good tip. I'm probably going to try that.
Yeah,
Try booking on my birthday.
if it's your birthday, they will. But you got to let them know ahead of time. You got to let them know ahead of time. I think at least 3, 4, 5 days or whatever ahead of time. They'll
Nice.
have a cake for you to celebrate. I mean, if you want to celebrate, I celebrated my birthday in the air last year.
Nice.
I flew Starlux, and it was great. And I was like, oh, they had a great time. I had a wonderful time. I literally the entire birthday, because I'm going through the time zones, was in the air the whole time. So it was fun.
I've never done that. I've never celebrated my birthday in the sky. So maybe that's a thing to do.
It's a thing to do. It's a thing to do. So I mean, let's talk a little bit about Q Suite, for example. We're throwing the word Q Suites around, and that's considered business class for Qatar. But not all Qatar's every Q Suite is business class, but not all business class is Q Suite, right? Can you explain what that means?
Right. So Q Suites is a product that by Qatar, which is their sort of signature business class, which features the closing privacy doors, and their Q suite, which if you're flying, let's say as a couple, can turn into a double bed if you select the middle 2 seats, and if you're flying as a family of 4 or with friends, you can essentially book the quad, which is kind of like your own sort of room in the sky with the 4 seats, which is crazy. So, but all of this is Q Suites, and it's a business class product. But Qatar does have other business class products that are not Q Suites. So they are just probably like any other international business class. You still get the great service, but you just don't have the, the Q suite, which would be the ones with the privacy doors and the couple seats or the quad. So you want to make sure that when you're booking, you try to book a Q Suite and not a non-Q Suite business class, because it can make a lot of difference between your experience.
So you mentioned the word quad. So quad's 4. So if you're a family of 4, what's the difference? You actually, because the Q Suite is some seats are going forward and some are going reverse. Are you saying then what happens there?
Right. So the 2 seats that are facing forward are like close to each other, so they become like a double bed. But then the wall that's facing you also drops down, so you can see the people who are essentially sitting rear facing but are facing you. So the 2 seats are facing you, and the 2 seats that you are sitting on, essentially these 4 seats are all open to each other, but are all still within closed privacy doors. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of describing it.
Here's the thing for a lot of people. When they're flying in business class, most people are used to flying together. They're sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
The problem a lot of time when you're flying in business class is that because it's so private, like you have this own cubicle, this pod, that really you don't see each other. And so what Q Suite try to do is they're trying to get your family group to be able to see each other. So you're sitting here and you're sitting here and you're actually looking at each other. You're facing each other. There's a screen there if you want to watch television, but you can move it on the side so you could actually kind of all have a discussion, or if you're having a meal together, I guess you can kind of see each other and talk. So it's pretty cool. And I heard if it's 3 of you, they'll block out the 4th on the quad so that somebody's not there. So that's a really nice feature as well. I mean, out of all the different things you could have done a masterclass with, why did you decide to do a masterclass on Q Suite? We're getting a lot of demand. Do people have a lot of questions about it?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons why, I guess. Primarily because I enjoyed flying Q Suites a lot. Also, like a lot of my audience is people from the Middle East or Indian subcontinent, and a lot of immigrants that honestly just want to go back every year to visit their family back home. And I think Qatar is one of the best products. Qatar's Q Suite is one of the best products to fly when you're doing that. So that's kind of the reason why I decided to focus on Q Suites as a product versus any other random airline like a Air France or a Lufthansa, because it most relates to my audience and where they want to go.
So it makes sense. That makes sense. Let me ask you, Qatar goes many places around the world. Can you give me some of the, like I think it comes from Los Angeles as well. Are there certain cities that have better availability than others that you've noticed?
Recently, Canada has had pretty good availability. Toronto is where they started their service, or rather resumed it after 5 years, late last year. And then I think a few weeks ago, they also announced that they're going to increase their service from 3 times weekly to 5 times weekly starting June, and then every day starting October or something. So there's lots of availability that they dropped. And a lot of people in US have tons of points, but they don't look north of the border to fly, position to. And I think that's a really good strategy that you should have, because there's tons of availability here compared to some of the US airports, especially for Qatar. But if you're talking strictly within US, then I would focus on the East Coast airports compared to the West Coast, because they just have 3 hubs out of the West Coast, but there are many out of the East Coast.
I noticed as well. I've seen that there's more East Coast. Like if I'm looking at IAD out of Dulles or out of Atlanta, for folks in Atlanta, you should look at that as well. Chicago,
Right.
I know they have LA. I don't know how often there is something out of LA. That's where I'm based out of, but I don't see too much of that. But I think they also have in Europe. You can go to London as well, Manchester, Frankfurt, Paris. They fly to Paris as well, don't they?
Right. Yep.
And then now, what about Asia? Like, if we're, there's one a lot of people don't realize. Like, many people know that I'm a big fan of Bangkok and Thailand. They actually have a Doha Bangkok flight, that flies there as well. So if you're trying to head home, but you're going to go the long way, you can get an experience with Q Suite as well.
Yeah. I think the Doha Bangkok leg is even on their A380, or at least one of the flights that they operate there is on the A380. So that even has the first class if you want to try Qatar's first class product. So that would be a fun trip to fly from the North America over to Doha in Q Suite business class, and then from there over to Bangkok in their A380 first class.
All right. I'd like to give a chance for folks who are online. If you're in the studio or if you're on Instagram, go ahead and drop a question. I have Miles Beyond Border here joining us. He does have a Qatar Q Suites masterclass. If you want to learn everything you need to know about the airlines, the flights, and not every flight and every plane has Q Suites. He's going to walk you through every single step of it, how to earn the points, how to redeem them. It's a fantastic resource here. Go to Miles Beyond Border, check out his link in bio to learn more. But if you folks have questions right now, let's go ahead and take any questions that you folks are looking for. All right. And by the way, while we're chatting or waiting right now, if you are looking to do a full airline masterclass, I have one running tomorrow. We start off tomorrow, and we're going to be helping folks who want to get elite status, learn how to earn your points and your miles, and at the same time, also kind of learn more about the ground experience. I'm doing a full masterclass, starts tomorrow, and I have a discount code, morning100. It's $797. But if you put the morning 100 discount code in there at bensbigdeal.com, you'll be able to get $100 off for those who are on this session right now. All right. By the way, outside of Qatar, do you have any favorite airlines that you recommend to fly outside of Qatar?
Not that I can think of right away, but I did fly Etihad recently, and I really loved that as well. I think that's a great option. So I really love the Middle East and Middle Eastern airlines. I'm probably biased because I've flown them a lot and I grew up there. But outside of Qatar, I guess Etihad would be my second pick, especially if you're flying out of Abu Dhabi. They have their brand new terminal with the new business class lounge and the new sort of check-in security area, which is fantastic. So I think that's a great option.
Okay. Someone asked about stopovers. Do they offer a stopover program, any of these Middle Eastern airlines, whether it be Etihad or Emirates or Qatar?
I'm not sure about Emirates, but I'm pretty sure Qatar and Etihad do have it, but not with points. So you do need to book with cash. When you book with points, they don't really offer a stopover. Though, if you're booking Qatar and you book it through Alaska, you will be able to book a stopover because Alaska has free stopovers, or I think 5,000 points. I'm not 100% sure, but that's one way to book. That's one way to book Qatar as a stopover if you book through Alaska.
Okay, so someone wants to know. DJ Chung said, "Do you do you get a hotel stay when you book Emirates or Etihad? Do you normally do you get a hotel stay? I think they're talking about the program, the stopover program. So that question, I guess, is the question. If you're booking cash, say that you can get. I think because some of them, like Turkish, will have like a free hotel or something. Do they have anything like that for these Middle Eastern?
Does offer like a super. Yeah, Qatar does offer like a super discounted hotel stay. I think a 4-star hotel is like $19 a night, and a 5-star is like $40 a night. So it's like really deeply discounted. But again, that's if you book with cash, and then you apply for that Qatar stopover, so you get like a few nights to spend in Doha and check out Doha while staying at a really nice place.
Does it matter if they're booking business class Q suites? Does it have on cash? Does it have to be a business class Q suite, or can it be an economy cash ticket to get?
I think it can be economy too. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it can be economy too, and you should be able to book a stopover as long as it allows you to do that. I do know, as I said, this isn't possible with points. With the Qatar Avios points, you do need to book this with cash if you want the hotel stay, especially.
Okay, wonderful. Marie, one of my mentorship students, she's like, how often do people get Qatar? And for those who are not familiar with what Qatar is, it means that they booked a Qatar Q suite flight, and then maybe a day or they do a plane swap, and now it turns out they're not going to fly Qatar. I guess the question is, I mean, they're still going to fly Qatar, but they're not going to get the Q suite. They'll get the regular plane. How often does that happen is the question, and how does she try to avoid it? Are there certain routes that have less of it? I mean, or is there a way that they can look forward to actually flying that?
Yeah, so I think the one thing obviously you can make sure is to make sure that you are booking Q suites while booking, and you can do that by looking at the seat map and stuff. But outside of that, unfortunately, these things are just not in our hands. Like if there's an equipment swap, then there's an equipment swap. There's nothing you can do about it. I personally haven't noticed like a pattern or like a select airport where they do this out of regularly, but I have noticed that in the recent, maybe last year and a half, that the frequency of these equipment swaps have reduced. And I think that's primarily because they have now updated more of their fleet to have Q suites versus their old business class products. I think most of the airports in the US and Canada where Qatar operates out of are serviced by Q suites. Though I think there are one or two exceptions. I think Boston, there's like a one flight that goes, they have 2 flights, out of which one is not on Q suites. If you do get Qatar, as people call it, unfortunately you don't have many options. Like you still have to fly that. You paid for a business class, and that's what you got. But I've heard data points where people have reached out to support, and they have given them sort of like a slight refund in cash or points of up to 10,000 or 15,000 points because they did get Q suites and they booked Q suites. But yeah, I think the frequency of getting Qatar has reduced.
That's good. Good to know. That's good to know. Let me see. Is there anyone else out there that has a question about it? Can I ask you about this? Is it worth it to fly first class over Qatar, or do you think business class Q suite, or is Q suite business class good enough
compared to flying first class with any other airline?
First class, or even just first class Qatar. If there was a first class Qatar availability, as you mentioned earlier, is there a significant difference in that?
I mean, yeah, the product itself is different. So I personally would still save my points a bit and fly Q suites, because you're honestly getting a better experience in terms of certain factors. Like if you compare Qatar's first class, they honestly don't even have privacy doors, which is crazy, right? But you'll still end up paying more points because it's first class in the event that they do operate that to the US. So no, I would still pick Q suites because, like I said, it's as they call it, first in business. It is honestly first in business.
That's great to know. Someone asked too in the group, if they're coming from the East Coast of the US, what's the best airport to fly into India? I don't know if they're talking about Air India or if they're talking about Qatar at this point now, but that's the question out there. Do you have any familiarity or familiar with going into India?
Yeah, so I assume you're talking about what airport from the US?
No, what's the best airport to fly into India if they're coming from the US?
So if you want to fly Qatar Q suites, I've noticed the best availability onward to Mumbai and Delhi. You'll also see decent Q suites availability to Chennai, but recently they've been sort of partnering a lot with an Indian-based carrier called Indigo. So a lot of times your flight from North America to Doha will be on Qatar Q suites, but your flight from Doha over to India will be on Indigo, which is a sort of kind of like a low cost carrier. So there isn't any business class or anything fancy like that. So yeah, I mean, just be look out for that when you're booking your tickets. But if you want to fly Q suites all the way, then try to pick the major cities in India, which would be Delhi or Mumbai.
Okay, I think now the question is, they're clarifying. Actually, what's the best airport from the East Coast in the U.S.? I mean, I'm going to think Dulles, no, but could be.
So Qatar's again, if you're talking about Qatar specifically, the availability of the East Coast airport is relevant because you have to find availability from both East Coast to Doha and then Doha onward to India. So irrespective of what East Coast airport you fly, if there's no onward availability, you won't get availability all the way, and it works the other way around. If there's no availability from Doha to India, then it doesn't matter what East Coast airport you fly out of.
I think the answer what we're saying is the airport that has availability is the best airport to fly.
Right. Yeah. that was a shorter and better way to put it. But
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gene has a question. He'd like to know, excluding the short inter-Middle East route that we just mentioned, is there any other Qatar routes that have a first class, F class? I guess at flight 380 I think we said Doha to Bangkok has one, right?
Right. Doha to Bangkok has one, but you mentioned short, right? I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think Egypt also has one. And if you're looking for longer ones, I believe they operate the A380 to Perth, Australia as well. So that's like it'll be a long way to go, but I think that's also a fantastic way to fly first class.
You underestimate my people who follow. They want the long one. They're looking to be on the longest flight possible.
yeah. I mean, points and miles people, we do crazy things sometimes.
Let's talk about that for a second. I think what is the general availability if they use BA Avios to get Q suites? Is there much availability using BA Avios, or would you recommend they move it to Qatar?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't generally see the advantage of just booking with BA Avios. You're better off just booking with Qatar. The taxes and fees are more or less the same, but you'd rather just book directly with the airline. Also, BA does charge, I think, a $55 cancellation fee, but Qatar just has a $25 cancellation fee. So in case you decide to cancel, you'll save $30. And Qatar does have better availability. The one key thing I'll call out that Qatar's calendars open up 360 days or 360 days in advance, while BA's calendars open up 350 days ahead. So there's like a extra 10, 15 days when there's availability. And believe me, there's lots of availability in that 1 year mark where a lot of people, grab those seats.
Okay. But they're like, but I have BA points. Okay. Here, Arborker, one of the things you can take his Qatar class is going to teach you that you can move your BA points to Qatar because both of them are Avios. They're both owned by IHG. So IAG is trying to consolidate. So Finnair has Avios, British Airways Avios. So these Aer Lingus, Iberia, and Qatar, they all are Avios. So you can move them from BA to Qatar. So you can be able to do that. So if you want to learn how, make sure you go to Miles Beyond Border, link in bio to go learn more about how to do that. All right. Rish Desai said, are the other Middle Eastern airlines, other than the big three, worth spending money on? The other Middle Eastern airlines that are not the Gulf carriers, not Etihad, not Emirates, are they worth spending money on? Like, let me give you an example. I think he's talking about, the biggest flight now, if I'm using my AA miles and I'm trying to get from Bangkok to Doha, it's not always Qatar shows up. You know what shows up? Gulf Air. You know what shows up? Oman Air, which are great as well. And I'd love to. Do you have any thoughts on those airlines?
I think, I mean, I personally haven't flown Gulf Air, I think, in over 20 years or something like that, probably when I was a kid. But I think Gulf Air and Oman Air are also fantastic options. Gulf Air is even slated to start their service to US sometime this summer or late summer, and they're going to be resuming that, I think, after like 2 decades, coming back to the US. Yeah, these two airlines sort of get overlooked because of Emirates, Etihad, and Qatar, but I promise you, the service that you get on any of these 5 Middle Eastern airlines is going to be way better than a random European or a US based airline, and that's just how they are sort of structured and designed to sort of give you that kind of service.
Can I ask you? I mean, the two regions of the world that have the best service and are well renowned is typically the Middle Eastern Gulf carriers primarily, and then the Asian airlines.
Yeah.
Do you find one or the other that you prefer? I know but like, what are some of the things that you like about the Asian airlines that maybe you don't find in the Middle Eastern airlines?
I unfortunately can't speak to that too much because I haven't flown any of the Asian airlines in recent years. But I do remember, I just do remember this memory as a kid. And it's one of my first memory of flying like a really long flight was on Singapore Airlines from Dubai over to Bali, and I think that was the best flight I have had as a kid because I stayed up all night playing games, and the flight attendants were so friendly. They kept bringing me snacks and food, and overall it was like such a great experience that I still remember that flight. I wouldn't be able to pick one over the other. I think these are both, I think, the best sort of regions that have the best airlines in the world.
Yeah, I try to tell people, like, save your points for those Middle Eastern and those Asian airlines. I think you'll have a great experience. All right, folks. If I see anyone else. Okay. Well, do you have any questions, or is there anything you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, I think this was a great session, and I think I always love talking about points and miles and geeking out on this stuff. So I'm really glad we could chat and get to know more about Qatar.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it one more question. I think we have one last question. We'll end it with that. What would be a drawback that as a beginner I would need to take care of while working on getting my free trip? So if somebody was brand new and they're trying to get that free trip or using those points, what's one of the challenges that you think most people will face, and why they probably need to take a master class like yours? What's the reason why you put it together?
I think so. A lot of people, what they confuse about paying for courses and master classes, they think that there's some secret information inside these courses or master class. And let me tell you, none of us offer any secret information. That we don't work with any airlines that tell us all the hacks and stuff. What you're paying for is basically to save your time so that you get all the information in a structured place, so you don't have to spend years and years and hours learning all this stuff.
You underestimate what people know. I'm going to just start with that. What you think people should already know, and it's not. I will say this as someone who's been this is actually my 3rd year teaching live courses.
Yeah.
And what you and I think would be common knowledge is not common knowledge. Like, do most people know that if they check a bag with Delta and Alaska, that they will give you miles and points or cash for just being over 21 minutes late?
Right. That's
I don't think most people realize they should be getting points every time they land. If their flag's not out there 21 minutes, they should be getting points for it. Most people, I don't think, know that. Those are things that you and I understand that, it's not a secret, but that's because you're so familiar with it at this point. But I think a lot of people could really benefit from a very focused, class to be able to help them be able to do that. That's the same thing you're doing in your Q Suite masterclass. Same thing I'm doing with my airline masterclass. I think it's that. It's like being able to put it up, saving you time, because I think a lot of people who come to class, what they're trying to get is they're trying to save time, because who has time to go listen and sit down and watch hundreds of YouTube videos and maybe not even get the answer that they're looking for, that they want, and then be able to have a resource from someone that they trust as well. So I think that's important. So I want to make sure they're aware. So there is value into And how much is your class if there's somebody was interested?
So my webinar is just $35. It features 2 hours of content and covers everything from earning points, finding availability, and everything you need to know about, for flying the world's best business class for nearly free.
Hold on, Eric. Do you guys all hear? He just says $35. Come on, guys, just go buy it right now. Even if
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to buy Qatar Q Suite, if you want to buy Qatar Q Suite, do not let $35 stop you from doing it and making mistakes and transferring your points over when you don't need to. Do it the right way. He put a lot of time, effort, and experience to be able to do it for you. Guys, go ahead and do that. I think it's going to be very, very fruitful and beneficial for you. I want to thank you for sure. Miles Beyond Border, go check him out on IG. He has a huge following, great content out there, and the masterclass is really, really exciting. Thank you for coming, Advait, for sure.
Yeah.
If you guys are ever in Toronto, you're in Toronto?
That's it. I'm Toronto.
Canada, folks. If you guys got Canadian questions, make sure you reach out to him and reach out if you have any questions. My name is Ben with Ben's Big Deal. I want to thank you guys for having a wonderful night. And if you are interested in joining my masterclass tomorrow, we will be kicking off at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be covering 4 days of nonstop points and miles action, learning how to get the best points, flights, your cash flights, when to make that decision, how to shortcut to elite status, how to get the act like a VIP and be a VIP with TSA PreCheck, global entry, all for free using the perks that you get from your credit card, as well as all the travel insurance that you folks need. Go to bensbigdeal.com. And if you are listening to this, you have a discount code morning100 will take off $100 off the masterclass. I'll be teaching it live and with your fellow students as well, who are also avid travelers. I want to thank you for all joining today. Have a wonderful night, and I will have it out. I'll keep a video if you want it. I'll send it out to you as well. Okay, babe?
Yep, sounds good. Awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead and I'll end this.